Sienna God, hello all. Oshisahiya, good evening and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 10, part A of reading Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Angers. And I didn't listen to my previous video, so I have no idea where I left off at. I just have a dog ear like that. Maybe it's right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up and read a little bit of the previous paragraph. The Spitfire could not succeed in obliterating the memory of the cad, the heartless heel, her Nicky Arnstein, Harold Raymond, H-A-R-A-L-D, Raymond, who knocked her up and taken the news with his get-lost look, his so-what shrug. Harold was darkly handsome, tall, and hung. Oh my God, I remember that. I could have totally did without that. But he was no caballero. What did she expect from the Cinnabar School of Chivalry? Raymond had phoned Lupe's manager, Little Beau, Roos, R-O-O-S, or Roos, stating he would agree to a mock ceremony on the condition that Lupe signed a document stating she knew he was marrying her solely to provide a name for her baby. Oof. When Roos conveyed this bummer to Lupe, and this says Lupe and Clayton Moore, a quote-unquote Johnny substitute. Whoopsies. There we go. She stormed and called Lolly Parsons. It had been Lolly who had announced her engagement to Harold. Lolly could now have this scoop. It's all off. Luella recalled, in quotes, Lupe told me that she and Harold had had one big battle and she told him to get out of her house. And when I asked her how the runt spelled his name, she told me, I don't know. I never did know. Who cares? End quote. Lupe invited her two best gals, Estelle Taylor, in parentheses, Jack Dempsey's ex. Oh. What's that dude's name? McDreamy. Isn't his last name Dempsey from Grey's Anatomy? Patrick Dempsey. I wonder if they're related. Anyway, and Benita Okie, O-A-K-I-E, in parentheses, wife of Jack, to share a last supper. After the Mexican feast, over brandy and cigarillos, C-I-G-A-R-I-L-L-O-S, Lupe fessed up, in quotes, I'm tired of life. I have to fight for everything. I'm so tired of it all. Ever since I was a baby in Mexico, I've been fighting. It's my baby. I couldn't commit murder and still live with myself. I would rather kill myself, end quote. The Spitfire found herself alone again at 3 a.m. in the big fake hacienda on North Rodeo Drive, and for the last time she ascended the wrought iron staircase in her silver lame gown, in parentheses, like the rest of it, unpaid for, close parentheses. Oh. Her bedroom was Our Lady of Guadalupe's chapel on her day of days, flowers, candles everywhere, everything aglow. Waiting for the star, she penciled a farewell note on a memo pad on the night table by the white gold telephone. To Harold, may God forgive you and forgive me, too, but I prefer to take my life away and our babies before I bring him with shame or killing him. What? Lupe. Then on the back of the sheet, she penciled an afterthought. How could you, Harold, fake such a great love for me and our baby when all the time you didn't want us? I see no other way out for me, so goodbye and good luck to you. Love, Lupe. My Lord. Man, that's terrible. And here is a picture of, well, it doesn't say, so I don't know if it's just some actual picture of a boy and, or is that a girl? I'm not really sure. And that guy. It doesn't say anything, so I'm not really sure who this is. I don't know if this is for a movie or real life. She opened the bottle of Seconal, S-E-C-O-N-A-L, that stood on the night table, picked up the water glass, then swallowed the 75 little tickets to oblivion. She stretched out on the satin bed beneath the great crucifix, hands joined on her breast in a last prayer. Closed her eyes and envisioned the next day's front page photos, Sleeping Beauty, and of course Luella's exclusive of the farewell scene in page 1, black bordered box. And indeed, in the next day's Examiner, Lolly O described the still life discovered at Casa Felicia's North Rodeo Drive. Lupe was never lovelier as she lay there as if slumbering, a faint smile like secret dreams, looking like a child taken nappy, like a good little girl. Hark, there are the doggies. There's Chops, there's Chips, scratching at the door. They're whimpering, they're whining. They want their little Lupita to take them out to play. No accompanying, deathbed photo of Lupe appeared to match Parsons' prose. The actual scene had been something else. When Juanita, the chambermaid, had opened the bedroom door at 9 the morning after the suicide, no Lupe was in sight. The bed was empty. The aroma of scented candles, the fragrance of tuberoses almost, but not quite masked a stench recalling that left by Skid Row derelicts. Juanita traced the vomit trail from the bed. Oh. Followed. And so much pictures. Spotty track over the orchid-tiled bathroom. There she found her mistress, Senorita Velez, head jammed down in the toilet bowl, drowned. Oh, my Lord. The huge dose of Seconal had not been fatal. In the expected fashion, it had mixed aerously, R-E-T-C-H-E-R-O-U-S-L-Y, with the Spitfire's Mexi Spice Last Supper. The gut action, her stomach churning, had revived a dazed Lupe. Violently sick and ultimate fastidiousness drove her to stagger towards the sanitary sanctum of the Salle de Bain, S-A-L-L-E space D-E space B-A-I-N, where she slipped on the tiles and plunged headfirst into her Egyptian chartreuse onyx hush flush model deluxe. This scoop macabre was the one that Luella had been sitting on. What? That is insane. Okay, anyway, so here's a photo. And then this one says Lupe's Mexican Spitfire self-parody. This is Lupe's Deathbed, Beverly Hills. And then Harold Raymond, jeepers, the heel, pays his last respects to Lupe. And then it says Lupe sign-off note. Okay. Mr. Buggs comes to town. Handsome mobster Benjamin, quote-unquote, Bugsy Siegel, of the flashing teeth and baby blue eyes, had during his heyday more of Hollywood by the balls than ever any despotic director or dictatorial studio head. Siegel grew up in New York's Hell's Kitchen, side by side with George Raft, R-A-F-T. This boyhood friendship developed into a lifelong association. Bugsy started off like many another gangland punk, raping girls while still a teenager. Whoa. Housebreaking on his own hook. His start... Hang on. Sorry, excuse me. Woo. His start in organized crime was as a heroin pusher for Lucky Luciano. He got into bootlegging with Meyer Lansky, M-E-Y-E-R, Lansky, L-A-N-S-K-Y, during Prohibition. The cold-blooded pro-killer was always just underneath his good-looker mask. His libido was large, and as a young stud, sexy psycho during the early 30s, he provided many a hot night for Broadway showgirls. Okay. With Lansky, Siegel participated in an unsuccessful plot to murder racket-busting prosecutor Thomas Dewey, D-E-W-E-Y, then in the U.S. Attorney's Office, later New York's governor. In 1936, the New York gangland Grapevine discovered that a Chicago mob was planning to move to the coast to take over the Hollywood rackets as yet not fully exploited. Gotham's hoodery decided to beat Chicago's to the gun. Bugsy went west with a half-dozen crime cronies. He rented the mansion of movie and met opera star Lawrence Tibbett, T-I-B-B-E-T-T. Through his pal George Raft, Siegel was introduced to the creme of Hollywood society and was soon hobnobbing with Richard Barthelmess, B-A-R-T-H-E-L-M-E-S-S, Jean Harlow, Clark Gable, Gary Cooper, and Cary Grant. During the early part of his stay, Siegel's most lasting relationship was with the Countess Dorothy Taylor DeFrasso, F-R-A-S-S-O, Frasso, the wealthy socialite and party giver. On arrival in movie land, a few years before Bugsy, the Countess, in parentheses, who always got lots of space, Shea, Hedda, and Luella, close parentheses, found it an agreeable pastime to be ministress, M-I-N-I-S-T-R-E-S-S of Gary Cooper's charms, taking up where Lupe Velez left off. After Coop ditched her and married a younger woman, the Countess settled down in Bugsy's pants for a spell. What? One of Siegel's close, quote-unquote, business friends was the shady Marino Bello, B-E-L-L-O, Jean Harlow's stepfather. Bugsy was often taken to the Platinum Blonde's home by Bello, although Harlow never, quote-unquote, warmed up to him and resisted his advances. Siegel was the only big gangland figure present at her funeral in 1937. By that same year, Bugsy's shakedown business, which fed on Hollywood extras and bit players, was going strong. It had been decided that these hordes of aspiring souls would have to pay off or go without work. Bugsy worked both ends of the fatted calf and also made the moguls pay off. If they didn't, 300 extras might, quote-unquote, disappear just when required by a producer for a mob scene. This racket netted Siegel $500,000 a year. The profits were put into his share of the Hollywood dope and white slave traffics. What? Okay, before I read the next, because it's going to go over into another photo. So Ben Siegel, Hollywood's favorite gangster. My gosh. In 1939, Siegel alone, oh yeah, I said I was going to show you the pictures. Hang on. Wendy Barrie, B-A-R-I-E. And then this one says, Dapper George Raft, Siegel's sincere friend. In 1939, Siegel, along with several others, was indicted for the murder of Harry Greenberg, B-E-R-G, a mobster associated with Lepke, L-E-P-K-E, who, under the threat of a long sentence, had decided to, quote-unquote, sing and name names, places, and details of crimes. Although Bugsy was held without bail, his power was such that he was given extraordinary VIP treatment. He was given 18, quote-unquote, exits in a month and a half, popping in and out of jail as if it were a hotel. One day he was let out, handcuffed to a cop for a, quote-unquote, dental visit. He turned up at Lindy's Wilshire Boulevard Cafe, handcuffed to his guard, who promptly checked the cuffs in the cloakroom so that Bugsy could have his hands free for a long afternoon, quote-unquote, dental visit with his current flame, British actress Wendy Barrie. Charges against Bugsy for the Greenberg murder were soon dropped. His defender in this affair was Jerry Geisler, Hollywood's ace attorney, famed mouthpiece for Errol Flynn and Chaplin. An even more decisive incentive for his release was the fact that Siegel generously, quote-unquote, donated $50,000 to the re-election campaign of LA District Attorney Doc Weiler, W-E-I. So the whole last name is D-O-C-K-W-E-I-L-E-R. Siegel had a wife stashed away who mostly stayed out of the picture. His next and last big fling was the notorious Virginia, quote-unquote, Sugar Hill, in quotes, Queen of the Mafia, end quote. This voluptuous ex-flea circus carny girl from Alabama had risen to some sort of fame in New York as the girlfriend and hostess of, quote-unquote, affairs thrown by Luciano and Frank Costello. In 1941, she set up operations in Hollywood, Virginia, ingratiated herself to Sam Goldwyn, and got herself an acting plum in a great movie, a supporting role in Goldwyn's Ball of Fire, starring Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck, S-T-A-N-W-Y-C-K. Her liaison with the mobster had been in progress for several months by the time the picture was finished. Siegel was her escort to Ball of Fire's gala, premiere, and party, where the hoodlum lovers socialized with Dana Andrews, director Howard Hawks, Cooper, and Stanwyck. Later that year, when Bugsy was brought up on bookmaking charges, George Raft took the witness stand. He testified in quotes, "I've known Mr. Siegel for 20 years. We've been friends for a long time." End quote. Georgie had always been charmed by his pal's hypnotizing blue eyes. Later, when Bugsy was gunned down, the only long-standing friend he had left was the ever-faithful coin-flipping Raft. Through Raft, on his release, Bugsy became friendly with Georgie's irascible, I-R-A-S-C-I-B-L-E C-I-B-L-E, pal, Leo DeRocher, D-U-R-O-C-H-E-R, manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and DeRocher's pretty wife, Mormon movie star Laraine Day, L-A-R-A-I-N-E. Siegel will not go down in history for any of his sordid criminal activities. Most of them were not that unique, but for better or worse, he has left a lasting Bugsy monument on the face of the American continent, that colossus of kitsch, K-I-T-S-C-H, Las Vegas. During the war years, oodles of money were being made in California. The public's desire for escapist entertainment had brought the movie industry out of the Depression, and salaries were zooming, along with the loot from aircraft munitions and black market profiteering. But at the same time, it was a period when the authorities were enforcing a major crackdown on crime and gambling. In 1944, Bugsy Siegel passed through, and here's some pictures. It says Wendy, Berry, and Virginia Hill Gangsters Malls, M-O-L-L-S. In quotes, Lucky Luciano and Target Bye Bye Blue Eyes. Good Lord. There's Lucky Luciano and the Target. Las Vegas. The town was then sleepy and undeveloped. The city fathers were planning to preserve it as a kind of far western living ghost town, pushing for an ordinance which would oblige all new buildings to look like, quote unquote, Oater, O-A-T-E-R, movie sets in order to attract tourists in search of the quaint. Siegel's grandiose scheme was to build the biggest hotel casino in the United States. It would make Monte Carlo look like, quote unquote, peanuts. He borrowed several $1 million from several shady sources, and in 1945 brought up the land surrounding a tacky hotel owned by a bankrupt widow. He moved in with an army of architects, decorators, entertainers, and bandits with 1 and 2 arms. The Flamingo was born. Luxury building material was difficult to obtain in wartime, but never mind. Bugsy got in touch with Lucky Luciano, then exiled to his Italian patria, P-A-T-R-I-A. Luciano was able to smuggle out several tons of Carrara marble, C-A-R-R-A-R-A, to send to Siegel for the Flamingo. The idea was to out Miami, and Bugsy did. The metropolis of super schlock, S-C-H-L-O-C-K, arose out of the sands. Siegel implanted a style which flourished like a wild flame in out of control cancer in the Mojave Desert. One which continued to grow after his death to become the Vegas we all know, and in parentheses perhaps, love, and a demented highway of nouveau riche, manic American playboy. The Flamingo was ready for Christmas 1946 and cost $6 million. It was slow in earning its cost back, but Siegel was already showing signs of wanting to expand. To Nevadans, it was apparent that he intended to take over not just Vegas, but the entire state. A few thousand new enemies were added to the long list of which Bugsy could boast. After a lover's quarrel in Vegas, Virginia packed up and left town in spring of 1946. She returned to California and rented a Spanish Moorish, M-O-O-R-I-S-H, castle in Beverly Hills at 810 Linden Drive, L-A-N-D-E-N. Bugsy trailed after her, and a semi-reconciliation was effected. She had accepted an invitation to travel around Europe with a wealthy French boy half her age. She left Siegel the keys to her house. Near midnight, June 20 of that year, Siegel was sitting in Virginia's living room reading a newspaper. A fiery blast suddenly shattered the window, separating the living room from the quote-unquote Sugar's garden. Bugsy Siegel lay on the couch, his ex-pretty face veiled in a thick sheet of blood, 3 bullets through his skull. His deadly baby blue eyes would no longer fascinate the thrillophiles of Hollywood. The police investigation got nowhere. Dozens of his quote-unquote ex-colleagues had reasons to want Bugsy out of the way. Although no indictments were forthcoming, it had since been established that he was murdered for not repaying the vast sums he had borrowed to construct the Flamingo. Although he had often turned up at movie stars' funerals, not even a bit player turned up at his. He was buried in Beth Olam, O-L-A-M cemetery close to the RKO studios, which, like Bugsy Siegel, would soon go out of business. Donde go hang again, you in a good chance to win again, love you, mean it.